We bought this boat over 2 years ago and hauled her 16 hours down the Trans-Canada Highway to Thunder Bay, Ontario. With a mountain of stuff and a tarp shed hiding most of her imperfections, we were blissfully unaware of just how much work would be involved in finishing her.
That one's your bedroom, and that one's yours, Pearl.
Murray's dad had passed away earlier that year, and we knew he would want us to spend at least some of our inheritance to show our daughters the world, and took the risk on this boat build being the vessel that would at the very least get us to the water. But I guess I should have been more clear about which water I was referring to. 80 to 90% finished quickly became closer to 60%, and the boat we thought was watertight turned out to leak like a sieve. But hey, that's what builders are for, right? Except ours doesn't have a bilge pump, and we have yet to put power in the boat. After the boat arrived home and the snow melted, we got to work trying to figure out what exactly still had to be done to make this boat float. What we weren't expecting to find was that whatever so-called boat building school had constructed the hull and deck had only used what would appear to be a single layer of fiberglass on the deck and cabin top. Which isn't the end of the world, as a quick Google search will suggest that 1 to 2 layers is fine, but the boat was already showing signs of cracking and delamination in areas, so we decided to add another layer of fiberglass to the entire deck top. And looking back on it now, it might have been almost easier to start from scratch. But hindsight is 20/20, and if you had the same experience as I did during that year, we don't like looking back too often. And like James from Zingaro says, this is one way you earn your stripes. We spent the first summer stripping the boat's exterior and figuring out what we needed to do to make her seaworthy. When the weather didn't cooperate, we worked on the interior of the boat, only to discover that this supposed to be watertight boat was anything but.
I was getting water in there, and like there's water here, it was puddling, but I can't seem to get it clean up.
The hatches leaked, windows dripped, and bilges filled repeatedly, demanding we pump them before they caused the beautiful hardwoods on the wall and settee to swell. We created a hoop tarp structure using some metal tubing we had laying around and a tube bender, which allowed us to make some progress later into the fall. Winter came early that year, and our makeshift tarp shed wasn't prepared for the weight of the snow load. The neighbor called Murray the day after the storm that collapsed the first hoop happened, and before he got there to try and fix it, a second hoop buckled under the weight of the snow. Boat work was off the schedule until spring arrived, as eventually we had to take the structure down and cover what we could with what remained of the tarp. But we didn't let that setback stop us from moving forward. As soon as the snow was gone, we were back at it. The second summer, we got more serious. We knew we had to get the cockpit glassed in if we had any hope of keeping the boat dry. So we set to work on that. For a couple of newbies, it turned out rather well. Even the paint job in the cockpit was acceptable. We added layers of fiberglass to the entire deck and cabin top in hopes that we could avoid micro cracks in our fiberglass down the line. We battled through weather, mental health crises, a bummed leg, and a police raid at the neighbor's place. It was a good thing, too, because they had been terrorizing the neighborhood for over a year and were most likely related to the car that attempted to mow me down on the sidewalk a year prior. As the months ticked by, the pressure to get the boat watertight loomed. Would we make it before winter? The weather had been holding out and was unseasonably warm. In October, not long after the boat deck and cabin top had been painted, we were finally able to start putting hatches back into the boat. Our friend Vic had volunteered to help. Oh, and I guess a proper introduction is in order. This is Vishal, but we call him Vic. He started out as one of Murray's students. Honestly, he is probably the only student that wasn't using ChatGPT to complete his assignments, and probably the only one in that class who had a genuine interest to learn how to do anything. Vic started showing up at the boat pretty well anytime we were working on it, because he wanted to learn all the processes. It didn't take long for Vic to become part of our crew. Always quick with a joke and borderline offensive at times, he has a way of keeping things light, which is what I think the world needs more of. He can talk candidly and intelligently about controversial topics without getting offended if you don't agree on something. His presence was appreciated, and now our girls always ask us if the Vicster can come over for dinner. The Vicster and I set to work washing down the hatches and windows, or portholes as us sailors call them, as they were covered in a thick layer of grime from having sat in the Elephant Project, aka the warehouse, for the past 2 summers. The guys then drilled the screw holes for each hatch, then acetoned the surface of the boat and the trim piece of the hatch. Murray cut the tip of the Sikaflex 291 off straight across and then notched out a V so that the bead would come out in a triangle. This is to ensure that every part of the surface is in contact with the sealant as pressure gets applied to the frame. It also helps prevent air bubbles so that you get a good consistent gasket that will help keep the water out of the boat. We chose Sikaflex 291 as it's UV resistant and came recommended to us by our friend Tracy at McKellar Marine. And oh how I wish the original footage didn't have hissing audio, or you would have heard all the inappropriate jokes these two bros made while installing each hatch and referring to Sikaflex as cock. Once the hatch was down, the guys installed the screws using a star configuration to ensure there would be no warping of the frame. If you're enjoying this episode, hit the like button and don't forget to leave a comment and subscribe. Cleanup was pretty simple as well. Although I've seen other people use tape to minimize cleanup, we tried that, but found that using an old plastic card to scrape off the excess and then using an acetone-soaked rag to wipe off the rest worked pretty well. While the guys were installing the hatches, I attempted to clean off the surface by the other openings to help make the process a bit faster when they were ready to install the next hatch. It took the better part of the day and as much Sikaflex and cock jokes to install all the hatches. With all the hatches installed, we just had the portholes and the deck fills left. But I was off to the Annapolis Sailboat Show and the weather wasn't in our favor to get them done before I had to leave. Will we get them all installed before winter arrives? Will all the work of rebedding the hatches fix the leaks? Or will I find myself pumping water from the bilge again in the spring? I guess you'll have to tune in next time to find out. Until then, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.